What the sun did to the grape is what the ice did to your pineal gland. It calcified it. It hardened it. There is evidence. People have gone into people's brain to see the pine cone. What they found is that upwards of 70 to 80% of Eurasians have a calcified pineal gland. They have also found that upwards of about 10% of black folk have a calcified pineal gland. So let's get scientific and not speak like it's all or nothing. Having a calcified pineal gland can happen even if you're not in the ice. But if you're exposed in the ice, there is a very good chance that your pineal gland is going to calcify when you're under 400 degrees. And that's what the Dr. Ohms found out. What happens to the skin when it gets frostbitten is the same thing that happens to your spiritual growth in your brain. So the people we're dealing with, when you look at them, look at their faces. When you look at the people that hunted down Brother Aubrey, when you look at the face of the man that had his knee on our brother Floyd's neck, look at their face, and what you're going to see is pure evil in humanity. That is a virus. And that's what we've been living under. And let me tell you something about these so-called liberals. Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, the great congressman from Harlem, once said one of the dirtiest words in the English language is liberal. So it's important that we understand that when we're dealing with these Democrats, see, for me, Congress ain't nothing but one big gang war between the Demo Crips and the Repub Blood Can. They are a gang. None of them. Malcolm taught us. Democrats are sly foxes, and Republicans are brute wolves. But don't ever forget, they both belong to the dog family. I have never forgotten that. I don't vote because they like me. Even some black politicians don't like black people. I don't vote for you because I like you. I don't even vote for you for all the things that our ancestors went through to get the vote. I vote because it's a strategy. I vote because I'm at war. And when I'm at war, every weapon counts. Let me ask you this. You're going out to war, and on your table, you have a gun, a knife, and a pen. What you going to do? Some people say, well, I get the gun, because in their mind, that's a very powerful weapon. I say, yeah, that's true. It is. But what happens when you run out of bullets? And they say, well, I'll pick up the knife too. I say, okay, that's good too. What happens when you run out of bullets and by chance you might drop the knife? The point I'm making is that when I'm going out to war, I pick up everything on the table because I never know what I may need. Because even a pen, which is a tool, can become a weapon at war. I don't leave anything off the table by any means necessary. The ballot or the bullet, I'm going to take it all. I believe in gun control. Control your gun. I hope I answered your question, Brother Kwame. If not, you can come back and try to refine it so I can get deeper into what you're asking. I hope I answered your question.
I'm going to open up his line real quick. And Brother Kwame, did he answer your question? All right. He might have stepped away for a moment. Mama AZ. Yes, we hear you, brother.
Yeah, I just said most eloquently he did, because that's the part we're needing to understand and knowing our enemy.
Oh, yes. Okay, good. That's what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a spiritless human being with a calcified pineal gland that cannot secrete the proper hormones to balance their sanity. We are dealing with a ruthless, moralless, evil human being. Now, I'm not saying all. And I think it's important that we all say that we're not talking about all of them. I hate to have to add that caveat to what I say, but I have to do it so that we can stay scientific like that. But my thing is, a lot of them, see, what I think they're doing right now is the right thing. White folk need to talk to white folk. See, black folk don't have a problem. White folk have a problem. Black folk problem is the fact that white folk have a problem. And what they suffer from, the greatest enemy of the human family, talking science right now, the greatest enemy of the human family is ignorance. Ignorance gives birth to twins, fear and denial. Denial of that fear. Fear is F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Because most white folk, most Eurasians live in a fantasy world. They don't live in reality. They have built from their religions to their institutions. It's all a fantasy. It's all made up. And then, if you don't believe it, then they want to hurt you. So they hold a gun. And by the way, the Eurasians who practice Islam did the same thing. They did the same. They took an African spiritual system, what we today call Islam, Eurasians coming from the northern country, calcified pineal gland. They embraced this faith system that African people gave them, and then they converted you and threatened your life if you did not become what they told you to become. The Christians did the same thing. They're all the same. And let me tell you something else. Chinese did it too. The Asians did it too with Buddha, because Buddha is not a heavy-set, bald man sitting in the lotus position. That is not the original Buddha. The original Buddha was black with kinky hair. That's the bottom line. So I don't hold nobody. I got a problem with all of them because they're liars. And when someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable.
That's right.
We have to right this wrong, family, and we have to speak from a perspective that our young people can understand what we are saying to them and what their moral and spiritual obligation is to themselves first, and then to the human family second. Because if you can't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. If you can't respect yourself, you can't respect nobody else. What you think is love and what you think is respect is really fear. False evidence appearing real. But it's not authentic love. It's not authentic respect. It is a result of a way of looking at something that does not jive on the frequency of ma'at, which is truth and justice, order and arrangement, respect and ethics.
Balance. Yes.
Balance. Absolute harmony.
Yes. All right. We have Mama AZ on the line, Baba. She's got a question or a comment for us as you continue dropping those precious jewels. Mama AZ, welcome to the line.
Give thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, beloved, we hear you.
Brother Kaba, thank you. Thank us. Thank us. Thank us. Thank us. My brother, you are really dropping some magnificent jewels in down to the bone jewels. I'll make this quick as possible, but it's a lot here that you have confirmed a lot. First of all, before I get into everything that I made a note to ask you, what's your perspective on Black Lives Matter? Because you be honking. You were honking. So tell me where your opinion of Black Lives Matter, just quickly, as you know, Thank you, my brother. You are awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank us. Thank us. Okay, go ahead.
My sister, may I say?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell you what Richard Pryor said a couple of decades ago. I support anybody black doing anything for black people. I stay away from personalities. I stay away from emotion.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm observing with the Black Lives Matter movement that was born out of Mike Brown, no matter who started it, how they started it, why they started it, something is starting in America right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something else about Black Lives Matter, but let me take you back. And, sister, I think since they call you Mama, you might remember the Civil Rights Movement.
Yes, sir. I'm 68 on July 1st.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm 67, so we're real close to each other. We experienced it. Okay. I was 2 years old when Emmett Till happened. I marched with Dr. King in Boston back in the 60s. And so what I know is this. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, 80% of black folk were against him. I know when Malcolm X was assassinated, 80% of black America didn't understand him. They loved him and respected him, but they didn't understand him. One of the things that we have to grow out of is our immature way of looking at situations. I don't get caught up in the messenger. I'm attracted to the message. And I think that we have to look at that. You know, we're getting too personal with the Black Lives Matter movement. We're getting too personal in the people who are in it, what their sexual orientation is. I don't care about that. I'm looking for the total emancipation and liberation of our people. I will work with anybody that is going to get to that point. I don't get involved in the personal. What I do know, as I have walked, just by driving, every time you heard me honking, there was groups of people on corners here in New York City on Broadway with signs with their fists up like we had with the Black Panther Party and Stokely Carmichael. And it was 100% white. Family, we have to just open. I understand our emotional concern. White folk ain't taking our movement. They could never take our movement. Our movement is unique to black people. What we have done is what Malcolm X told them to do. Remember in the story, Malcolm X tells a story about a young lady when he was speaking on a college campus. A young lady came up to him and said, you know, Mr. X, I think I'm a good white person. I don't feel that way towards black people. Please tell me, what can I do? What can I do to help you do what you do? And that's what he said.
Nothing.
He looked at it and said, nothing. However, years later, in reflecting that story, Malcolm said something else. Malcolm said that if he could go back to that young lady, what he would tell her to do is to go into her neighborhood and talk to white people. Because it's white people's job to talk to white people, not black people's job to talk to white people. It's white people's job, because white people got the problem. Black folk ain't got this problem. Plus, most white people don't want to hear from black people. And I know because I've worked on projects. There was one time I did a presentation I co-presented with a woman of European descent who had the same job in her educational district that I had in mine. Director of Cultural Education. That's what she did in Rochester, New York, and she and I co-presented in a staff development session of principals and teachers. Well, let me tell you, when I did my presentation, I did it first. I was scheduled for the morning. I did my presentation, and them Europeans had a heart attack with me. They had everything to say about this and about that and about this and about that, and I was listening to them, and okay. They couldn't handle me. Then we went to lunch. And in the afternoon session, the European-American woman gave her presentation. And let me tell you, she was on fire.